Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and first off, happy Thanksgiving. Second off, this video was not really planned. Originally today I was going to review the last Sharon Tate movie, which is 12 Plus 1, but I thought that I would do that another day, and instead today review another new release movie. This is something I was supposed to review on Wednesday. So yesterday, when if you guys don't know what happened yesterday, is we were supposed to go to Walmart to get the last Gordon Ramsay frozen food, which is the cheese bites appetizer. Well, the Walmart that is closest to us had a shooting go on Tuesday night, so it was closed and we could not get it. We probably didn't want to go there anyways, all things considered. So we went all the way to another city, like 30 minutes away, 20 minutes away, to go to their Walmart, and they did not have any of the appetizers. So we went on like a, what do they call those things? A wild goose chase, to try to find the last meal, the cheese bites, which they probably suck, just like everything else Chef Gordon makes that's frozen. And so what we did was we had the pizza bites last night, and spoiler alert, they were not that good. And next week, we will just be ranking all of the meals instead of doing a review, and then we'll just kind of review them as we rank them. And I guess we'll have to go to another Walmart. Ugh, God, see, this is why, this just shows, do not go to Walmart, guys. Nothing good will come from going to Walmart. Nothing. So, anyways, I am here today to review Napoleon. Honestly, I have so many bad things to say about this movie. I kind of feel bad because this is supposed to be Thanksgiving, where you're supposed to be positive and you're supposed to be thankful for what you have. But when you have a movie that's as bad as this, it's really hard to be thankful for anything in the movie, because this was really, really bad. I mean, it was... It's one of those movies where, let's just say this, spoilers for the rankings of the year. It is above a lot of other bad movies of the year, simply because those movies are that bad. But it is still really bad. So, even though it is not in the top 10 worst movies of the year, even though it is not, it's basically the halfway point, kinda. Got 27 movies, and so far I have it at number 15. So, that's kind of halfway. But it is still, this movie, wow. And let me explain why, because I really like to get into the details of things. I'm very detail-oriented. I'm not going to be that detail-oriented, because if I make one little screw-up, people will, jump on it and say, oh, see, you don't know history and you don't know the movie. And I'll be the first to say, I don't know everything about history. I did learn about Napoleon in 9th grade, and I did so well in that class that I got put into honors history the following year. So, it's not like I'm a doofus when it comes to history. But this movie, I already had a bunch of red flags going for it. Number one, Ridley Scott came out and he said, I don't have to read the history books. I leave that to the poor writer of the movie. He's got to read all the history books. That's a big red flag, because back in the day, Stanley Kubrick was trying to make a Napoleon movie, And he did all the research himself. He did shit tons of research. He was obsessed with Napoleon, and and he wrote a script. And I'll say this, like, I haven't read his full script, but from what I read, I really liked Stanley Kubrick's Napoleon movie. And I actually heard that Steven Spielberg is making an adaptation of that script, and I would say that that's the movie that I want to see. Okay, like, even though Steven Spielberg is making it, which is kind of a red flag nowadays, that's the version that I'm looking forward to. So this movie, let's get into it. To put it simply, this is the type of movie that you suffer through on a holiday if you've got to take, like, an older relative to go see a movie in the theater, and they're like, I want to go see that Napoleon movie, and then afterwards we can go have a piece of pie. Yeah. That's what this movie is. It's one of those shitty, boring movies that you take an old person relative to go see, and they're like, wow. As they watch it, you know, it's just... it's so stale. It's so outdated, just in terms of, like, it doesn't feel like somebody actually had a vision to make a Napoleon movie. It just kind of feels like just some director, some old guy director made a Napoleon movie for old people, and the writer was kind of different. That's kind of the interesting thing here, because on one hand, you have this traditionalist director who, you know, he's very, very old school, not in a good way, in terms of how he directs. I mean, the way that he directed this movie, Ridley Scott, it just felt like he went through the motions of directing. It really didn't feel like he had any direction to offer in the movie. And then the writer, he, on the other hand, felt like a Reddit user. You know, if you guys have ever seen, like, Reddit users, Reddit is cancer, and people that are on Reddit are cancer. And, like, they have the worst takes ever. They're so edgy. They're so, like, they always want to push the boundaries, and they always want to be cool, and, you know, and that's what it felt like with this movie. It felt like this writer, he was like a Reddit user that was writing Napoleon. Because the way that they framed Napoleon in this movie, first off, you're wondering why they even made this movie other than to shit on Napoleon. Literally, at one point, there's a throne that's covered in bird shit and bird feathers, and Napoleon sits on it, and he just looks like a fucking loser. And, like, this movie, this is 2.5 hours of these filmmakers, like, shitting on who's one of the greatest people in human history. Like, this amazing military guy, this fucking commander guy, this fucking, like, legendary person. I mean, just, you hear the name Napoleon, and you think of this guy. And these people, they treat him like trash. Like, they really treated him like maybe, like, I don't even know what their belief is, because in the movie, or wait, no, I kind of do, I guess. They kind of believe that, like, he was only ever good because of his wife, and because he was motivated by her pussy. Like, that's literally the story of this movie, guys. Like, you have this guy, he's a French officer guy. I don't know. I didn't even know, because the movie was so terrible at, like, telling me facts and telling me of, like, anything. Like, I couldn't even tell what was going on in these terrible battle sequences either. Like, the battle sequences sequences were so poorly done. I didn't get any strategy at all. Like, I didn't see, like, what's Napoleon's strategy? Like, what is his... Like, why does he win these battles? You're not going to find out if you watch this movie, that's for sure. You know, this is like a glorified soap opera. You have this French guy. He's really full of himself. He's really weak and pathetic. And there's this girl, and he's in love with her, even though she's like a 7 out of 10. And and then, like, she invites him over, and this is how weird he is. He kisses the invitation, and then he rubs the invitation all over his neck. And it's just stuff like that where I was like, do they really know that he did that in real life, or are they just making stuff up so that they can, like, make him look shittier and shittier and shittier? And then he goes over to her house, and she opens up her legs and says, like, look down here and you'll see something you've always wanted to see. And that's literally the filmmakers, like, saying that, like, Napoleon's entire existence is all because of Josephine, the 7 out of 10, opening up her legs for him and giving pity on him. I mean, I don't even know the romance story. I don't know, like, what she saw in him. I know that I guess he was like a weak-kneed simp, and he just really, really wanted some 7 out of 10 poontang from the French area. And like, just seriously, like, I don't know anything. This movie was 2.5 fucking hours. And it's like, what the hell happened in these 2.5 hours? Like, even my cat, he just woke up and he was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Now he's gonna jump off the bed. Let's see what he has to say about the movie. Bernie. Hey. What do you have to say about Napoleon? I don't know what that means. Sorry, guys. I can't translate that, but I think he meant, that movie was a piece of shit, Marco. That's not the fuck I said. So then he goes to battle, or he practices, and then his wife's cheating on him, and he goes back there and he throws a tantrum, and then, but he stays with her anyway, and just like, what the hell? Like, what is writing? What is screenwriting? What even is storytelling anymore? If not just an excuse for writers in Hollywood to insert their own personal agendas into every single little thing. Like, oh, Hollywood writer, make a Goosebumps show. Okay. Proceeds to make a show that has nothing to do with the Goosebumps books. It's a piece of shit. Got a bunch of agendas in it. A lot of that show is basically devoted to the writers giving themselves pats on the back. It's like, okay, Hollywood writer, go make a Napoleon movie. Go write a Napoleon movie. Okay, I'm gonna write a movie where Napoleon is a weak-kneed simp loser who's just like a buffoon. I mean, this entire movie's like a comedy. I mean, this whole movie is like one long comedy where if you were drunk and if you didn't take this movie seriously, you'd have a lot of fun. But I can't even have fun because I think it's shitty. I think it's shitty that, like, Apple, they have so much money. They gave Ridley Scott $200 million to make a movie that has nothing to do with Napoleon. It has no historical accuracy. It has no basis in reality other than, like, I don't know, the Wikipedia footnotes. It's ridiculous. And now Bernie wants to leave because he doesn't even want to... Yeah, I know, the movie sucks. I hated it. I didn't even pay to watch it, and I hated it. And now let's get into one of the most embarrassing things about the movie, because if anything, I would say that this movie, it makes Ridley Scott look more pathetic than Napoleon, Because number one, this movie is ugly as shit. I mean, I wish I could get so loud right now, guys, but I can't. This movie is so ugly and colorless. They sucked all the color out of this movie. We can't have color in the Napoleon movie. We gotta have this ugly, desaturated thing, this disgusting rag of a movie. It looks like you took a rag and you wiped a bunch of shit off the kitchen counter and you said, look, here's your fucking movie, you little shit. You better like it. I mean, who color graded this movie? Who in Hollywood is responsible for this monstrosity of a movie? This movie looks like shit. I'm so sick of seeing these movies in Hollywood where they suck all the color out, they suck all the life out of these movies. They can't handle writing, they can't handle directing, they can't handle acting, and they can't even handle editing. So what can they handle? Oh, bowing down to the Israel government, that's what they can handle. And so, as we saw with Melissa Barrera, which, by the way, boycott Scream 7. Boom. Number two, and here's the thing, too, like, I thought that in the opening scene, they almost made it like a stylistic choice, where it's like you have the opening scene with Marie Antoinette getting executed, and then after that, maybe it'll look like a real movie. But no, after the opening scene, it just keeps going and going and going, looking ugly as shit. Number two, you guys know there is only one thing more that I hate than sex scenes that are made with sex police people. Which, by the way, Ridley Scott is an 80-year-old fucking man, and he can't handle shooting nude scenes without other people there to babysit what's going on. What a fucking hack. He can direct these scenes where millions of people are on a battlefield battling, killing each other. That's really easy for him to do, but he can't handle shooting two consensual adults having consensual relations on camera that are fake and phony. He can't handle it, guys. That just makes him look even more stupid than he already does. But also, another thing, you guys know there's one thing more that I absolutely hate, that I despise, and that is clothed sex scenes. Yes, you heard me correctly. Clothed sex scenes. How do you have sex with your clothes on? Who has sex with their clothes on? I will go to a pornographic website right now. Let's go to my favorite one. Today's selection. You got one video. Wives cheating with male strippers. They've got their clothes on, but they're just giving BJs, so they're not real. That doesn't count. Stepsister, what are you doing? She had underwear on, but then she took it off. So, needless to say, she doesn't have any fucking clothes on. That's not how you do that. How doesn't Ridley Scott know that? Doesn't he have children and grandchildren? What are we doing here? Look at all these. None of these people have their clothes on, by the way. They might have a bikini on or some underwear on. They take it right off. They take it right off. I mean, there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're in the shower. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. Nobody has sex with their clothes on. I guarantee you Napoleon fucking Bonaparte wouldn't have boned Josephine with his clothes on. Are you serious? Every single sex scene in this movie, they got their clothes on. One of them might have their shirt off. It's obviously not the woman. It's the man. because they can't handle that. And so, just these fucking sex scenes, man, they just fucking suck. I can't believe it. It's Thanksgiving, and this is what I get. These sex scenes are what I get. This is the quality of sex scenes in Hollywood nowadays. This is how bad they are, and only I am the one who talks about it. Now let's move on so that I don't look like a weirdo. And now, Napoleon, he's a whiny little bitch in this movie. Well, you know what? Ridley Scott is a whiny little bitch. There were all these people, and they said, look, this movie is historically inaccurate. It is not the real deal. And you know what Ridley Scott said? Get a life. That's what Ridley Scott said. Get a life. Stop criticizing my historical movie based on a real person for being historically inaccurate. Wah! It sounds just like Napoleon in the movie, where Napoleon is like, Josephine, I am writing you letters, and you won't write back to me at all. That is not what a wife should do. A wife should be writing her husband every single day, twice a day. And let's say something else, too. Joaquin Phoenix, he was not right for this role at all. That's for damn sure. I mean, I don't know why they cast him other than the fact that he just did the Joker, and this movie wanted to make Napoleon look like a big joke. So, you know, how do you make him look like a joke? You hire a guy who played the Joker. That's the only reason why. Because, listen, I like Joaquin Phoenix as an actor based on the limited amount of projects of his that I've seen. But he was just not right for this role. And I don't even think it would have mattered, honestly, because it was so bad. It was so directionless and poor and just stale and dull and lifeless. Like, look, maybe if the movie had all the color in it and it looked like a real movie, maybe it would be kind of better, because then it would actually look like a real movie. But they sucked all the color out of this movie, and so every scene looked like ugly as shit. Like, this entire movie is like that girl on Tinder that you swiped right on because you were drunk and you couldn't see her face clearly enough. And then I'm just kidding. That sounded mean. But I mean, seriously, like, this movie is ugly. Like, I mean, who would take a shot from this movie, post it on Twitter, and say, this is cinema? Nobody. Nobody in their right mind would take a single frame from this shitty, ugly movie and say that it's art. This movie is opposite of art. It's trash. Now, here's one of the most ingenious lines from the whole movie. I mean, see, this is exactly why the writers in Hollywood deserved a pay raise. Now, I'm going to do my best Joaquin impression. There's this one noise that he makes in the movie, too, where he goes like... It's really, really weird. I don't know what was going on. This movie actually felt more like a sequel to that documentary, Why Am I Still Here? It really felt like a sequel to that rather than a serious historical biopic movie. You think you're better just because you have boats? And then he storms off. You guys hear that line? You think you're better just because you have boats? That is just... I can't clap right now because I'm holding my phone in one hand, but I'm slapping the air like it's a naughty Josephine girl. There's nothing else I can do to just demonstrate how bad this movie is. I mean, seriously. What went right with this movie? Well, it was only 2.5 hours, and it wasn't 5 hours like they have all the footage for a 5-hour movie, apparently, and there will be a 5-hour director's cut. You can guarantee that I won't be watching that shit and suffering through that. Because, honestly, I'm glad I can watch Hell's Kitchen later, because that will actually make Thanksgiving better. But like watching this movie on Thanksgiving was like an ugly present. It was like I got delivered a tray and I opened up the tray and it was just a pile of shit. And it had a letter and it said, "From Joaquin and Company," and Ridley Scott, the master director who can't even handle filming an intimate scene by himself. And as I said too, this movie is like an agenda movie where it's like he never could have gotten anything done in his entire career if not for his wife. He never could have done anything if not for her. He never could have walked if not for her. He never could have done it. And there's like a scene where they're having like a food fight together, and she calls him fat, and he says, "I like to enjoy my meals." and then he's like, "You won't give me a child." Like, that's what he sounds like in this movie. Like, he just sounds like such a whiny little baby. And I can't believe that Hollywood said that this movie was okay. Because the terrible thing about this movie is that instead of getting to watch a good movie about Napoleon that is accurate and that is really, really a good movie where somebody had a vision, the key word is a vision. That means that you wanted to make that movie because you had a vision. You had a picture of what was going to be instead of just mindlessly going through the motions so you could show off that you're 80 years old and you could still put together a film, which you really couldn't because this movie barely passes as a film. It more so passes as like a series of scenes with trash in them. I'm so worn out from doing this video. And then it's bad enough that he's already like a complete failure as a person. Like, they never even show like him in any sort of like way where he accomplishes anything. Every single time that something good for him happens, it always seems like it's by luck or by chance that like, oh, luckily these people backed him up. Luckily, he could run away from that fight. Oh, luckily, he won that battle. Luckily, he had this happen. Luckily, he had that happen. They never show it like he actually masterfully manipulated anything like they did in the trailer. In the trailer, they made the movie look like he was going to be the OG Napoleon that he was in real life. But in the movie, it is like you're just laughing at him the entire movie. And so then after he divorces his wife, he sets his sights on a 15-year-old girl because he's such a loser that like they're just trying to paint him like in the worst possible light, to the point of where at the end of the movie they have like this long list of like people that he killed, like this, like each battle, and then like how many people he killed, and then it's like, I guess it said he killed like over 3 million people or something. And it's like they're trying to paint him like he's Hitler or something, and that he deserves to be made fun of, and that he's just a loser, and he's just a buffoon and a goofball. And I hate it. I fucking hate it. It's so insulting to like good historical movies, good true story movies. And this is my thing. True story movies, this is my deal here. Like that's one of my all-time favorite genres, and they really screwed this movie up. That's for sure. I can't think of a single good thing to say about this movie. Sorry, I would like to, but I'm not going to because that would be dishonest. So. What would I rate this movie in terms of food? Now that is the question. Well, remember Altoids? Remember mint Altoids? I feel like this movie is like, what if instead of having a meal, you ate a whole entire tin of mint Altoids, and they're powdery and gross. They taste kind of good, but then the taste wears off, and it just leaves you with this really gross and bitter aftertaste that just like, ew, this movie sucks. And it's like, there's nothing good here. Altoids are outdated. I don't know anybody who even eats Altoids anymore because I feel like there's better mints. I feel like there's so many better mints out there instead of Altoids. And I feel like this movie is the Altoids of movies. And Ridley Scott should just give up, and he should just retire and go sit on a beach somewhere and give it up, because you can't direct anymore. You're trash. And I know that that's mean, but I don't give a fuck. Scorsese, he made Killers of the Flower Moon. I like that movie so much. I saw it in theaters fucking 3 times. And as soon as it comes out online, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to watch it again and again and again and again. I'm never going to watch this movie again, that's for sure. I can't wait to watch the Stanley Kubrick version, though, because, again, from what I read from that script, I thought it was pretty good. And I can actually kind of remember what happened in that script and kind of remember, like, what was going on. So I really hope that when that movie comes out, or the show or whatever, I hope that I can actually learn something about Napoleon, because I literally don't know a single thing about Napoleon after this movie, other than the people who made this movie think he is a loser. That's all I know. I don't know anything about, like, his strategy, his personal life, because I don't know. I don't know. So please like this video and comment and tell me, was I being too mean? Sorry. I'll try to be better next time. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews, because I will be honest about if a movie is good or bad. I won't, pull a Collider or a Schmoes No and say, this movie's really good. It's really, really good. And I just love everything about it because I'm a mindless idiot. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.